It's one thing to have to go through puberty in front of millions. It's another entirely to have to grieve your mother's death the same way. For Princes William and Harry, childhood was nowhere near as magical as it might have seemed. In 1997, when William was 15 and Harry was 12, Princess Diana was tragically killed in a car accident in Paris. The event shook the world to its core. The brothers spent years seeing millions of public tributes to their mother while trying to deal with their own feelings about her death.
It's like an earthquake just run through the house and through your life and everything. And it took me a while for it to sink in.
Diana's funeral was one of the most watched live events in history, which put massive pressure on the boys as they buried their mother in front of the world. Prince Harry later told Newsweek, "I don't think any child should be asked to do that, under any circumstances. I don't think it would happen today."
William says it was peculiar that people were, as he puts it, wailing in the streets when they'd never met his mother.
Diana's memory lives on through her sons, who've spent the years since her passing maintaining her legacy by supporting global humanitarian efforts in her name. Growing up, Princes William and Harry had a front row seat for their parents' crumbling marriage.
Both boys lived through what was going on a daily basis.
Between Diana's aversion to royal protocol and Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, the young princes were constantly surrounded by scandal. To make matters worse, the prince and princess fought about how they wanted to raise their children in the spotlight. Charles and Diana separated in 1992 and finally divorced in 1996, but the princes were still caught between the two. Thankfully, their school at the time made a point to shield them from the tabloid-feeding frenzy that followed. As royal expert Nicki told Express, it took them out of troubled waters. Sources have speculated that as her marriage to Charles fell apart, Diana relied on her sons in different ways. In her book, The Palace Papers, Tina Brown writes, Diana used her elder son as both a stand-in and a buffer. By his early teens, he was his mother's most trusted confidant. She used to describe him as my little wise old man. Diana allegedly asked William very adult questions about how she should live her life. He attended events with her and was reportedly up to date on the tabloid rumours about his mother and her alleged lovers. This put even more pressure on the young prince, setting him apart from even his closest family members by the time Diana died. Biographer Sally Bedell Smith wrote in Diana in Search of Herself, by confiding in William as much as she did, Diana was placing a significant emotional burden on an adolescent boy. Being the oldest son and second in line to the throne of England, Prince William's royal position comes with more responsibility than Harry's. Diana recognised this and grieved for the life her son would never lead. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond told OK, Diana told me that William felt the burden of his destiny. Unlike other young boys, he would never have freedom of choice over the job he would do or the direction of his life. Bond also shared that Diana thought William would make a great king one day, despite the enormous pressure that comes with the position. But Diana also saw Harry's potential and gave him a nickname based on a quality she saw in him at a young age. As royal commentator Charles Ray told Marie Claire, Diana dubbed Harry GKH, Good King Harry, because she thought he would have been better equipped for the role as a future king. Prince Harry was a notorious bad boy as a teenager. From drug use to raucous partying, Harry had a reputation as a rebel living on the edge. He even reportedly entered rehab at just 17 years old. The press described him as detached and sometimes volatile. One reporter told The Guardian, his attention span is limited and he is inclined to disappear when he gets bored. Harry has since reflected on his troubled youth in his autobiography, Spare, confessing that it took him until his 20s to realise there were better ways to handle his grief, including by giving back. In a Newsweek interview, Harry explained, I needed to fix the mistakes I was making. I didn't want to be in the position I was in, but I eventually pulled my head out of the sand, started listening to people, and decided to use my role for good. While William became his mother's confidant, Harry spent much of his childhood feeling separate from his family in a multitude of ways. As the younger son, his royal duties were further removed from the crown and, by proxy, his family. Speaking to Dr. Gabor Mate, Harry recalled, it didn't make sense at the time. I felt as though my body was in there, but my head was out, and sometimes it was vice versa. Between his feelings of being separate from his family to the press who hounded his every move, Harry felt pressured on multiple levels. Speaking with The Telegraph in 2017, he admitted, I have probably been very close to a complete breakdown on numerous occasions, when all sorts of grief and sort of lies and misconceptions and everything are coming at you from every angle. He shared this feeling with his mother, who felt equally alienated by both the royal family and the paparazzi. One might think the unrelenting public scrutiny and strict royal protocol would bring William and Harry together, but they maintained a brotherly rivalry from a young age. Childhood brawls would sometimes veer into real violence. Ken Worth, the prince's former protection officer, told the Royal Observer, "When they hit each other, they meant it." The fights didn't end with childhood. In Spare, Harry describes a real adult brawl instigated by William, in which he assaulted his younger brother. Their disagreements continued to grow until Harry's very public exit from royal duties following his marriage to Meghan Markle. Harry once told ITV, "Part of this role, part of this job, this family, being under the pressure which it's under, inevitably, stuff happens."